Everyone, may I have your attention for a moment? I'd like to welcome you to Da Vinci Gallery. This exhibition, A Train of Thought, is a work of love. And I have Rebecca Ham here, the director of First Street Art Gallery in Claremont, California, along with Mariah
Jones.
Mariah
Jones.
Mariah Jones. And I also have Marty Kutzman here from the ADA Compliance Office. And I wanted to give a few words about the show. I selected this show. I actually had been a volunteer at Harborview House, another facility down in San Pedro, California, that works with individuals who deal with mental illness. And when I had gotten involved with this group, I became very aware of the kind of stigma that is associated with mental illness. But then I kind of noticed the amount of not just effort, but kind of passion that is involved in creating this artwork. And these individuals at Harborview House had a kind of unending focus and concentration to their artwork. And I was really wanting to do another kind of show. I had done a project called Picking Up the Pieces that dealt with suicide prevention. And when I became director here of the gallery, I wanted to do another show that sort of illuminates, you know, how different individuals with mental disabilities or mental illness are able to express themselves and bring about their creative growth. So I had met Rebecca Ham when I had done this particular project, Picking Up the Pieces, and had shown it at Zach's Gallery. And we connected, and I remembered Rebecca worked with First Street Art Gallery. So when I had this opportunity running the gallery, I contacted Rebecca saying, I want to have a show with these individuals. So I went out to First Street Art Gallery. I met Joe, I met Jonathan, the individuals who are in this show as well, and Gustavo. Gustavo I haven't met. Welcome, Gustavo. And I went about, you know, looking through the artwork, those kind of very concentrated ways of making a pattern or keeping this kind of singularity of expression. However, all the pieces kind of relate back to one another because of this kind of streaming of consciousness or mapping. And with that, I want to introduce Rebecca Ham and have her talk about First Street Art Gallery and about what they do.
Thank you, Stacy.
You're welcome.
I feel like I'm right at home here. I'm surrounded by work from artists that I know and love and am inspired by daily because you guys work so hard. We drove all the way out here to enjoy the show. And Stacy, thank you so much for bringing this out for all of us. It's great. I want to point out that Seth Pringle is here too. He's our gallery manager at First Street Gallery in Claremont. Mariah is the exhibition coordinator for Tierra del Sol and works at the Sunland Studios, and I direct the fine arts programs for the Tierra del Sol Foundation. And I'm very happy to say that Rebecca Leinhardt, our CEO, is here from Tierra, and Kathy Galarno, who does our development. She's our Chief Development Officer. And we have so much fun traveling around often to see the artwork in so many community spaces. And what gives me the chills, literally right now, is that I'm looking at folks who enjoy art. You're here for one reason or another, you make art, you think about it, or you're interested in expression, or you have an assignment you got to take care of today, right? Because we're on a college campus. But that's great, and that means you're probably in an arts or cultural or an English class or all those good things. this is all about who we are. Arts making really comes from who you are. And we know at all the Tierra del Sol Fine Arts programs, there's no limitation between our particular vision and someone else's being able to express that and put it into the world. In the visual arts, we use painting and drawing and sculpture and sometimes writing. We also use audible arts like music or dance, gesture, movement. All of those expressive arts allow us to put our own personal invisible vision into the world so others can enjoy it. And when that happens, it's super attractive and interesting to others. And I certainly enjoy looking at the world through Jonathan's beautiful paintings that are all on the back wall there, all 4 of those. Fabulous. And Joe's amazing maps that he has beautifully displayed. Stacy, thank you for the nice vitality you brought to hanging the show in a big way.
You're welcome.
And Gustavo has these beautiful, beautiful pen and ink drawings and multimedia pieces that are very intricate and detailed that many of you have already commented on. Hello! An old friend. So I want you to just totally enjoy the show because, for one, I totally enjoy it all the time. And when you make your own work, you can think about how direct your own expression can be. But when you do your own art making, you get a little sense of what it feels like to make a line go like this, or make a color mix and get it like this, or maybe it didn't turn out the way you did. So when you do art making and then you look at art, you have a deeper understanding and actual response to it. So I encourage you to continue doing that and get opportunities to show your work as much as possible. Our artists purely power through studios and make work all the time, don't you, Gustavo? And Jonathan and Joe and many of the artists in this exhibition are working on a daily basis to create their vision in the world around us, the physical world. And exploring new techniques and materials to make that happen is part of the creative experience, isn't it? First Street and Sunland Studio Arts and all of Tierra del Sol is in the business of making bridges. This is kind of how I like to talk about it sometimes. We just make a few bridges for folks to have an opportunity to be here at this gallery. Very often folks who have been labeled to have a disability may not have the same opportunities that many other people enjoy. So what we do is we kind of look at those places in our communities and just say, oh, I bet if there's just that little bridge that somebody can connect there, that would open up a new opportunity, a new world of experiences for that person. And that's what we're in the business of doing. And all of us are in the business of doing that too, for ourselves and for those we love and care about. So when we look at bringing our whole communities together by finding out where those bridges are, we become a greater civilization, I'll say, and a greater inspired group of folks that can really support each other to grow and do the good things that we need done in our world today. We really need to expand in those great ways. So when you look at these artworks, I personally look at each one of these as an expansion of brilliant beauty, creativity, experimentation, and courage. There's a ton of courage behind all these artworks. You work really hard every day and you come in and you challenge yourself to say, oh, I don't feel like working today. I'm going to continue working. Or this isn't working out the way I thought I wanted it to work out. Well, let's see if I can find something new in that. That's the art process. And that's what artists know. All of us know that deep down when we explore our own creative gifts. And each of us has that. So when I speak about the opportunity to showcase it and put it out here, Stacy's done a great job of bringing it all together for us. I really appreciate that. And these are the folks that have the goods behind their working efforts. I encourage you to think about the way that the pieces are made and start to look for some styles. If you notice, each artist has a very different style. And that's a very good sign, I think, because that means that it's really coming from your own individual vision. Jonathan, what do you like to do and think about when you're making your drawings? Would you like to say anything about what you like to think about or do when you're making your drawings? Okay.
I like to do ceramics.
You like ceramics?
Yes.
Great. And when you make your drawings, how do you do that? What's the process?
First thing, I use pencil first.
Yeah?
Use pencil first.
Uh-huh.
Use pencil first. I use Christmas sticks and markers.
Great. So you have like a sequence,
Yeah,
right?
sequence.
And if we were over there, we would look at all those 4 pieces, and if you see how much detail is going on, that's pretty intense. Yeah. And you stay working on that for quite a while, don't you, Jonathan?
Yes.
Great. Jonathan's style you've really grown over the last few years.
I've just grown.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
You've been even more courageous with your work and trying bigger formats
Yes.
and trying new materials.
Yeah.
But you are actually choosing all that imagery to create, and
Yeah.
I just think that's fabulous. His piece is on the poster for the show as well. It looks like it's got all those great contour lines, making those shapes. So you're sculpting with your drawing material, which is pretty intense and powerful.
Yep.
Nice work.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and Joe is making these big maps. So Joe, can you talk a little bit about how you make your map?
Von the Douglas map and street views.
Right, the street views.
Bless you.
And what do you do when you get the street view on the iPad?
The look at images.
You look at all the images?
Yeah.
Great. These are pretty intricate and detailed, if you noticed.
Yeah. Of
And,
the street name.
and the street names, right? Yeah, and the scale is so fabulous.
Yeah.
I love when we have things that are bigger than us because they kind of encompass us, they enwrap us, they feel monumental. Things that are small are much more intimate and intense. And when we contrast your monumental pieces against your pieces, Gustavo, the small, intricate detail, very intensely created. Do you want us to say anything at all about your images? They speak for themselves? Yeah, they do. And they say a lot of things. And I believe that with artworks, you know, we live in an entertainment industry world. Things that are like force-fed us all the time. We just walk down the street and we're getting images and messages all the time. We're like, we don't have to work for it. With the arts, I believe it's there, and it is asking us to participate in it. It sits there waiting patiently for us. And when we spend some time with it, the world opens up. That's because we're investing in it and just spending some time looking. And that's where the layers and layers and layers become revealed. And I think that's really powerful in your work, Gustavo.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the way you work is very intense. Maybe you can speak about that a little bit.
He's amazing to watch, if you don't mind. Gustavo starts sort of intuitively on the page. There's no preconceived concept. It's not a landscape, it's not a figurative piece when he begins. It just sort of comes as he goes, and they flow as beautifully as you visually wander through them. He creates figurative elements with depth and dimension, geometric shapes. It really encompasses all that you might think of when you think of art. Influences range from Escher to street artists, contemporary and past, and it's wonderful. It's what he's passionate about, and it's great that he can make a living doing what he's passionate about.
That's great. That was really, really beautiful. Anything you want to add to that?
Okay.
Great, great. Very intense work all the time. And, you know, these artists are not just making artwork. They're making change in the world as volunteers as well. We're out there working, aren't we? Jonathan, you're volunteering at a few places. You want to say what you do?
Yeah.
Where do you volunteer?
Let's see, volunteer Justice Center.
Jocelyn Center at one of the painting classes.
Yeah, Justice Center, Garden,
At the Gardens.
and Beta Center.
And the Beta Center, and you help out with another nonprofit in our area. You know, artists, you're surrounded by some artists here who have jobs that aren't necessarily about making art in the studio constantly. But there's a role for us in cultural expansion, right? I can look at Laurel, and she's a master of finding wonderful ways to connect the community to arts making, to all kinds of cultural experiences on a daily basis, and finding it in corners that people don't think about. It's really great, always creative with that. So when we're volunteering in the community, we're broadening the outreach of who we are. Our folks are still ambassadors in our communities. We're still making a message that the labels and the terms we use to categorize people are somewhat outdated, and they don't fit a mold any longer. And what we really need to do is think about the individuals and the people we actually are with and who they are first, as opposed to how they fit in a system. And when we do that, the world opens up. It's kind of like that process of looking at an artwork. When we stop and look and be willing to participate, the world opens up.
Yeah.
You got it, right?
Why?
Right. So some of the things we're doing at our arts programs at Tierra del Sol, recently we started joining in some workshops at Art Center College of Design. We've been invited to participate in some of those painting, drawing, and printmaking workshops. We're teaching in the community as well, and I say the word community, and I like to say neighborhoods or businesses or community, there we go, groups of people that do all kinds of things. We're involved in many, many levels to introduce everyone, just like we're here. We're talking about creativity. Isn't that a great topic?
Creativity.
Yeah, it inspires all of us, right? And you're demonstrating that. So I think that these folks are ambassadors to challenge us all on making sure we're true to staying connected to who we are as creative people, and knowing that there's always a way to find how to explore that. If you've been given those gifts or those ways of looking and thinking about things, you definitely have ways to pursue it. So join together, get supports for that. And Joe has done these gigantic, beautiful maps.
Yes.
And you specifically pick the place that you want to draw, right?
Like Phoenix, Denver, and Montreal.
Right, Phoenix, Denver, and Montreal, exactly. And you visited some of those places, so that's why it's important too, huh?
Yes.
It's great. And you've done some long panoramas too. One comes to mind, he did the first Starbucks in Seattle, right?
Yeah.
And it's a street view map. So you actually see the images of the buildings and the people. And you started by washing all the paper with coffee.
Yes, we sold it to the lawyer.
We did sell it to the lawyer upstairs. Very good point. Right on. So we all join in that celebration too. Because it's nice, you know, we do like when people buy work because it actually honors and it allows people to honor the work and have it be close to them as well. And that really opens up a door about how our career building in our programs is very important too. Do you know that everyone is here on the college campus because you're probably pursuing a career? You might have some goals, maybe? Do you know that sometimes that goal making and choosing and the pursuance of those goals are not open to everybody? Do you know that that's an unequal system in many places? So what we do is we help folks have those opportunities to look at what goals could happen for them. What would be my dream job? What would be something that I could be very much involved with? So we take steps to pursue those goals and dreams in a way that's so powerful and life-changing for our world. Because we do need to right the wrongs of inequality. And as a connection to our systems, there's ways to make those bridges and to enjoy and celebrate the inclusion and expansion and not the division and segregation any longer. So that's who we are, and these folks are totally amazing, and I'm so glad that I get to be inspired by you all every day. Right? Yeah. Joe just got a giant commission, by the way. We have a organization in Claremont called the Claremont Heritage, and they choose all these historic sites in Claremont. We have a lot of old buildings in Claremont, and Joe was commissioned to make 6 portraits of those homes as gifts to the homeowners. So you made a lucrative commission, and a commission is a hard thing for an artist to do. Don't we know that? Yeah. Because you get rules and guidelines you got to follow. And you do a great job of making commission pieces on a regular basis.
Yes.
So your career is expanding in a big way, and you have almost regular commissions coming in now.
Yes.
And that is a big change from last year.
Yes.
So it's a huge step.
Yes.
It's because your work is so great.
Yes.
Congratulations to that. about the money, right? But it's about being able to pursue those pieces and find that our personal work, the things that make us happy, do make a difference in our larger communities. There's a place for it. Helen Ray is on the other side of this pedestal, the movable wall. And Seth Pringle is right back there. Do you want to say a few words about Helen's career right now?
Sure.
Come on up, I think they have a camera set on it. So.
Yes.
So Helen's been with First Street Gallery and Tierra for as long as First Street Gallery has been around, which is 25 years. And she started as a beginner and has just, if you look at her older work, it's just progressed from year to year. It's become more complex and more sophisticated. And just the past year has been kind of a launching moment for Helen's career to reach new audiences and sort of new levels of success. She's been picked up by the Good Luck Gallery in downtown LA, which is in the Chinatown district, and they gave her a solo show earlier this year, which sold out almost all on opening night. And they're now, because of her success, they're taking her to an art fair in New York City in January. So, you know, Helen, she comes in every day and she's focused. She comes in, you know, full time. Is always just, you know, just laser focused on creating her work, and then we have the honor of trying to take that work and get it out so people can see it and appreciate it and own it. And so, you know, she's just reaching, you know, countless new audience members through these different opportunities that are opening to her, and it's all because she's just an amazing talent, just a really you know, gifted individual who works hard and loves what she does. So we've been just thrilled with what's been going on with Helen recently. Yeah.
It's really great. Thank you, Seth. And you know, we've been, Tierra del Sol is now 40, how many years?
45.
45. Thank you. 45 years. 45?
44.
44. Okay then.
That's crap.
Right. And starting with the idea that we just, you know, families got together to find a place.
In 1971.
In 1971, right. Anything else?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great organization that started by families, right? Families that were looking for a place for their family members, their sons or daughters or nieces, nephews, friends, to find a place that they could really be themselves and who they are and explore those things while learning how to function in our civilizational community structures. I can say that to the art crowd.
The San Fernando, San Gabriel Valley, and Inner Empire.
Exactly. Thank you. And so that premise, that mission, and I just am so grateful that we have an organization that has lasted and been dedicated to the goals of serving individuals to pursue their independence in whatever ways and means that is. Because every one of us here has a different way of doing that. And we all can work together as well as stay very individualized. So by finding an organization that helps to bridge those gaps, that's where Tierra has really blossomed. First Street and Sunland Studio Arts and the other arts programs in our agency help to really make those bigger career path goals now. But you know, guys come to First Street and someone will work with us and the work's on the wall and they'll say, I had no idea this was possible. I had no idea that my son or daughter would achieve this, and have other people that don't even know them come in and admire their work. Absolutely groundbreaking and powerful moments that change all of our lives. So I appreciate that you're all here, part of that moment with us, because creativity is shared by all of us. And by you seeing this, I hope you're inspired and you tell other people about this. And our artists are making more work and inspiring each other. It's challenging work to be an artist, because you not only have to challenge yourself, you have to kind of keep fighting against the current to make space for your own art making to happen.
We make dwellings for the Special Olympic World Games.
We did. And we did workshops there, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we're reaching out and helping other organizations and involving in our communities. We're not just receiving things, we're definitely making change happen. These are the folks that are making change happen. So I challenge you from my heart to consider how you have definitions and how you use them, and to be willing to blow some of those up and recreate them a little bit by looking at what's really happening. Because look at this stuff. It's pretty cool. Do you have any questions?
I have a question. I am curious how Joe goes about making this work. In terms of, I know he looks at images from Google, but are the panels all put up at the same time? Or done one by one?
Joe, do you mind if I talk to them?
Yeah.
So Joe works on one piece at a time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as you move on to the next panel, you just line up the pages and then start the new panel, right? Yeah, so Joe's doing this all just hand to eye with his iPad. You zoom in and out a lot and pan back across, right? But Joe just has an amazing sense of perspective and proportion that he's able to create all these drawings, you know, one piece at a time. And have
I
it,
just finished the pattern about Salt Lake City.
yeah, he just
Salt Lake City,
just
right?
finished a new one. There's always a new project going on, and Joe is always working on multiple projects at once too. He's always juggling, you know, usually an aerial map or two along with a street map or two, or a portrait from a magazine cover. Or Joe's just prolific. So
It's a good question.
So we also have Marty Kutzman here, and Marty, you're with the ADA Compliance Office. Could you speak a little bit about what that office is involved in?
Okay. Well, we are an office of one. I don't have a secretary, so if you call, you will get me. And I do have an advisory committee who actually has Tierra del Sol representatives on it, which is helpful. I do assist with employee accommodation, so when an employee has a disability, to help them stay in their current position. I also, if there's a student complaint, sometimes get involved with student accommodations. I have developed policies to help us comply with the laws, and I'm happy to say this is the 25th anniversary of the ADA, so this is a really appropriate time to be having this kind of an exhibit. It is also Disability Employment Awareness Month, another really good reason to have this type, because this is really a good demonstration of differing abilities, and we in the awareness, those of us whose positions deal with helping people of differing abilities, like the word of differing abilities, because we all have differing abilities.
Los Angeles City College is part of the Los Angeles Community College District.
We are the community college district, and for those who don't know who are here visiting, we are 9 colleges. And Tierra del Sol assists students who are transitioning from high school into our college systems in our Valley colleges, so Mission, Pierce, and Valley. And did you say East also?
Just those three.
Just those 3, that's what I was thinking. So it's been a really successful program. It'd be nice if we had that pushing in. I've mentioned to some of the other agencies that why don't they have those kinds of programs the rest of the way. I moved here from Santa Rosa, and we had something similar up there called Becoming Independent, but I don't think that they were quite the level that you are. But they had an art program too that I loved to visit, and they had a wonderful gallery. I am really impressed with this art because I think it's a step up. It's so professional looking. It's very, very impressive, and I thank you for having me here today. And letting me speak for a minute. Thank you.
Well, are there any other comments or words or?
May, did you have any questions?
Oh, do you want me to ask them in front? Okay, perfect.
She's got some.
Hi. I have a bunch actually.
Excellent.
But when did you join Tierra del Sol? Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I tumbled in about 25 years ago.
5 years ago. How did you hear about it, and why did you decide to join it?
I came in as a guest artist. It was an community arts program, and I was invited in to make a print through a California Arts Council grant support. And Michael Woodcock was the artist in residence at the time. And so I got to come in and design a print with some of the artists at First Street at that time. And it was amazing. It turned me inside out to see all this great, wonderful stuff happening. And as I was walking out the door, they needed a teacher, and they asked me if I wanted to apply. So I hit the moment at the right time. And I've been there ever since. And it's been just an amazing experience. And we're out in Claremont, so we have some resources, and we actually were able to bring in Mariah Jones, coming out of Claremont Graduate University as well, to join us in our arts programs there, and now she's directing all the exhibition and coordinating programs at the Sunland campus as well. And Seth Pringle also went to Claremont Graduate University and wandered in. Yeah. And but we have many folks, including interns and volunteers from our local colleges, and some people commute quite a distance to come and intern and volunteer with us. And many of our programs are not that far from this campus. About how far are you from here?
That's a good question, I don't know.
30 miles?
30 miles.
30 miles? Yeah, and we're about 40 miles. So if you think about that, we actually have Getty internships every summer too. But it's a community arts center, and that happens at the Sunland campus and the studios there, as well as Claremont, and in different places where people are going to classes for arts.
Okay. How did you go about choosing these different pieces?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I had this kind of very broad, vague concept that I wanted to have a show dealing or having individuals who had a sort of sense of patterning or mapping. And having volunteered at Harborview House and then reconnecting with Rebecca again, I knew that I wanted to have this kind of show that kind of highlights these individuals with different abilities and bring them together. So I came to Rebecca and I started looking at all the work. I actually took a tour of the entire facility, and in viewing the work, it was kind of like an overload of all this kind of visual information, you know, between Joe's work and Jonathan's work and Helen's work. I was just like, wow. And there's like, what, 30 individuals at the facility that day?
Almost 50 at First Street and about 25 working for Sunland right now, but many other folks are exploring arts too.
So I was just kind of inundated. So I just I was first drawn to Joe's work, and I was like, immediately like, yes, gotta have these, now I want these. And then I started sort of making these kind of connections, you know. I was drawn to Joe's, not only the large pieces, but also the colors and the intricate pattern details of this mapping. And then I sort of saw connections happening, you know, this kind of intricate pattern details kind of pops up in Jonathan's work. I saw it pop up in Gustavo's work. I saw this kind of delineation of different colors, and then that pops up in Helen's work, and I saw all this intricate detail occurring in Drew's work, and they seemed to all start connecting. I saw like all these, my synapses started just sparking, every time I kind of looked and I saw, oh yeah, that connects to that, and oh yeah, that connects to that. So I just saw all these different interconnectivity, and that's kind of how I got this, you know, the name for the show, this train of thought, because I kept going from this thing to that thing to that thing to this thing and back and forth, and I saw how all this kind of, you know, piece after piece after piece after piece kind of working together. And I, sort of like 100 pieces that day? I was just like, wow, 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 yeah. So I was just like the kid in the candy store on sugar overload. And I was just like, yeah! And I had to sort of like control my urge to like bring it all in, just all of it, more and more and more and more. So I was very conscientious of being kind of selective of what things should be in here, because the pieces are so powerful when you look at them, and I didn't want it to be sort of a kind of explosion. I wanted there to be some space to be able to move around and really absorb everything we're looking at, because I mean, there's a lot to look at. Any one particular piece, there's a lot to look at. So I didn't want sort of a visual overload happening. But I knew that these pieces that are assembled here today kind of gives that kind of collective consciousness, you know, this train of thought, because all the artists from First Street Gallery that I met all work in one big room. It's not like, oh, I'm the artist in my studio over here, or oh, I'm the artist over here, don't look at me. No, it's one big room. It's just like a huge kind of hive of activity. And they break down into smaller groups. And I love the fact that they're so individualized. Even with this huge open expanse and then the smaller groups, they really had a sort of sense of self when working. So I love that. But it's still all kind of connected together, which I also love. So that's how I went about picking the work.
You did a good job.
Thanks.
And the artist did a really good job. May I ask any of them any questions right now?
I don't know, you guys want to answer some questions? I'll let you know.
If you ask too many questions, I can tell you.
Okay. Yeah, no?
Well, who do you want to ask a question of?
Maybe how about I'll make it a more personal thing, one-on-one later? Okay, perfect. I think I'm done for right now.
Great.
Let's talk to
Okay,
you
great,
guys.
thank you.
You know, it's interesting to me that we're never talking about quality here, because it's not a question, right? This work is just like over the top great. And what you were just like uncontainable. You're gesturing, what happened when I saw the work and all this? It's really powerful stuff. And I am so honored to be around folks who are so dedicated to creating work that's intense quality and really powerful.
And they work for like
expressive.
every day, 8 hours a day?
6.
6 hours a day. That's, I mean, I'm lucky if I can get into the studio a couple of days a week.
Yeah, my question is, so the material, do you talk to them first, or how do you get the ball rolling?
Hey Joe, you want to talk about how you started painting? What do you usually start with? What's in your head? Where do you go? She's asking about how you start your work.
Just started at Victor Valley College
Oh yeah?
in 2009.
Okay, you're talking about when you started making art at Victor Valley College?
Yep, starting up
You started your art classes
with
there.
Mike Wardell.
Mike Wardell. Yeah, Matt Wardell. Yeah. And you have, just like with, I would say, if you don't mind me saying, our arts pursuit as artists is, you know, we do a lot of research. We get focused on a topic, and we get really involved in something. And Joe's really involved in looking at Google Maps, like you said, finding images. And Jonathan, you're really into the
I
materials and
remember
following
working
line.
with Mike Wardell.
And Matt Wardell keeps coming up in your memory too when you're working, right? And we look at things and we get interested in them, and that's kind of like a trait for people who produce in the arts. Is that you get really focused and you exploit it a little bit.
Yeah.
You ask questions, and then you do some problem solving, and you're not afraid of challenge or change. And I'm sure we all know that because we're standing in an art gallery talking about art making processes, right? So things change all the time.
Yeah,
I will say that your work, Jonathan, has changed quite a bit in the last few years. And the recent body of work is the most powerful I've seen as well.
Yeah,
Very intense.
very intense.
So what kind of choices do you make when you're starting a new piece?
First, I use Christmas stick first.
Christmas stick first?
Then I use piece of paper last.
And you choose the paper last?
Yeah, I do first with the paper. Then I use color pencils next.
Next. Okay, so you have a method.
Yes.
So each artist, as Stacy was pointing out, I think is very individualized in their approach.
Yes.
And some people do like to work in that kind of little, like, you know, don't look at it yet, it's not done.
Yeah, I approach it and they were like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
And other folks are wide out there. So those are some good answers.
I have a question to you. When you work on, do you see it in your head before you start, or do you start drawing and it just comes out?
What?
Do you see your images before you start, or do they come as you draw?
I just use pencil first so I can look around.
So you know before you start what it's going to look like?
I did. I did.
You map it out, don't you?
I just map it out.
Yeah.
So that first picture over there,
Which one?
that picture, the first one, is that a cat crawling up the hill?
This is United. This is United. This is United.
I see a cat and he kind of follows me around wherever I'm looking from.
But these are
Yeah.
the here.
So there's a theory about Rorschach when you look at art.
Uh-huh.
You can tell a lot about yourself.
I need a cat in my life.
It's always true.
Do you see what she's talking about? And that is so much fun as an artist when people bring all kinds of interpretations. And I think Stacy's a big fan of this too. You know, sometimes you have labels and titles of things, but it's still wide open for anybody to look at and find some layers of connection to it. And that's something I didn't see in the work, because I'm really glad you brought that out. She's talking about this looking like that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's very intense work, and you're very serious as you create it, and you're very dedicated to your work. Again, the quality of the small movements just make the better quality of the larger piece. It's that micro-macro thing, and it's so important in the arts, and it's just so you, too. Every little bit of that is Jonathan in there. And this is just astounding. You know, spending time looking at this. This is so beautiful, Jonathan.
Yeah, this is deep.
It is?
Yeah, this
It's lovely.
That's like,
Wow. The colors you chose are just beautiful.
yeah, I chose those colors first.
You want to talk about this one?
This is the ball. This is the ball.
Great. And it's the ball dance.
Yeah, this is the dam.
Is that the sparkly ball?
Yes. Yeah.
That's the mirror ball that reflects all the different colors and moves.
Yeah, I used those first Leah's class.
Well, you just totally nailed the idea of rhythm and all that action and movement.
Yeah.
It's really nicely done. And you mastered using basic geometric forms in a way that's so surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to say something like that little bit of orange that's popping out, which makes this whole thing work. What made you take that orange and fill it in some places and not in others? Yeah, it's brilliant. Like just enough, just 4 there, 5 over here. The ones at the top and on the side, like what's the reason, you know, why some stay orange and the others don't?
These are circles.
Uh-huh.
These are circles here.
Do you work more from what you see and react to it? Or do you plan it out completely?
I just take a look.
You just take a look.
Yeah.
It's amazing because we try to teach this stuff all the time and there it's just happening. It's just enough variety that everything works but unified. It's perfect work. It's really beautiful.
Nicely stated.
Same, I think the same with I love your maps. Just love them. It's really beautiful work.
It's sort of intuitive. All of it's just really intuitive.
I know, I'm jealous. It's tapped into something that's just working.
Right, and those of you who have worked in the arts know that that's the hardest way to work.
It's the hardest part, exactly.
It's really just being free and open and following those leads and taking those chances. And that's why you guys are such heroes with all this. It's really powerful. Yeah, I want to say thank you for sharing all this. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have more questions. Do you have some that are your favorite, and do you select, or are they all great and all equal? When you make a lot of work, do you then select your favorite, or are they all equally good and you like them all the same?
Equally.
That's your favorite thing.
That's my favorite one.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I think he likes them all equally.
Yeah. Yes.
They're beautiful.
Yes.
But
Like them all equally at this
sometimes
point.
we make ones that aren't the, you know, the
Yeah, I was
stars.
just curious if the same censoring comes in, or I think if you have such an intuitive way to work, then every mark counts, right? So then you go afterwards and say, oh, this is good or this is bad. Probably not,
We do
right?
portfolio review.
You
It's
do.
the same thing. You got to look at your work and see where you're going. What's my next step? And that takes time, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it
It's
takes
like facing
time.
the truth. It's like, oh, I just want to keep making work and not look back.
Sorry, final question. Do you sell your work? Is it for sale or
I
not?
sell your work.
Yes.
Big time.
Big
We
time.
want a press release. So we have it? Where?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have it
You
here
can
tomorrow.
also, and this is an opportunity to say you can always go online to us and find out the pricing there. And as we were talking about, Helen Ray is handled by Good Luck Gallery too. You can go on their website and find some beautiful
Yeah.
pieces. But you can call us directly, Tierra del Sol Foundation. You can contact me or Mariah or Seth, and we can definitely give you information about work. We also can bring work to you if you have a place where you have a show for us. That would be great. If you have opportunities for installation or offices on campus that need art. I know there's a lot of artists on campus already. But also think about how you can create some community experiences too. How can we collaborate together in bigger ways? Sidebars. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Should we have another event? What do you think?
I was just telling, I'm Kelly Miller, I'm the Chair of Child and Family Studies, and I live in Shadow Hills. And Tierra del Sol is in my community, and I take my children every fall to your Harvest Festival. Did you announce that? They have an amazing Harvest Festival. That's fun, and I bought lots of ceramics.
It's coming up next weekend,
Yes,
Saturday,
it's
October
super fun.
17th, the weekend after this weekend. So
Yeah, so it was so
Gonna be
exciting
great.
to see you guys here at LBCC.
yeah, we welcome all of you to come. It's from 10 to 3. We've got music on 2 stages, great barbecue. You'll see a lot of more artwork, and ceramics will be on display, and it's a really great community event. So if you're out that way or not, drive out there and join us. We're right off the 210 in Sunland. You can just go to tierradelsol.org, and there's a lot of information about it.